Good evening, friends. Jason here for AxodysFC. And it's Friday evening. Harry Kane is on his way to Bayern. Or, essentially he's there. He took his medical, he's signed and announced. Not sure if he will get to play in tomorrow's Cup against RB Leipzig. Kind of curious to see how that goes. It seems like he might make a spot appearance, but how funny would that be that less than 24 hours after signing with them, he could potentially win a trophy? That would just be, as Ali Gold said, so Spursy. But yeah, it's interesting. I've been listening to a lot of YouTubers today as they, come to terms with the future, and I think most people actually that I follow are very optimistic on things with Ange going forward. Yeah, one era is ending, and hopefully another one's about to begin. Tough first game against Brentford potentially, but at the same time, Brentford, it sounds like their new goalkeeper that replaces David Raya isn't anywhere close to as good as Raya was, so they're still sorting things out too. So now might be the best time to play them, possibly, when they might be a little bit vulnerable compared to how they'll be later in the season. Anyway, Ange had his big first interview in the post-Kane era, and basically, yeah, it came out he's been operating under the assumption that he wasn't going to have Harry Kane for the season, and he's been planning accordingly. The first day he met with Harry, Harry made it pretty clear that if the two teams could come to terms, if there was agreement with the club, he wanted to go, and yeah, fair play to him for being open in that regard, and understandable that Ange would play close to the vest and would operate as if he was going to be staying. For negotiating purposes and everything else, you can't be making it evident that you are planning to go on without him. And yeah, it's interesting. I forget the guy's name, but for the Athletics Spurs related podcast, yeah, pretty. The main host, I forget his name. I should know it because he's longtime Spurs fan and notable voice in those regards. Anyway, he was pretty emotional and lashing out a little bit, and in particular at Postecoglou, if he did in fact know and was operating like that. And I'm like, you cannot be serious. This is the nature of the game. And anyway, it essentially this host was Ange should be reacting like we know, say Mourinho or Conte would have reacted in terms of throwing a big tantrum and just making a scene or whatever. And no, actually a reasonable manager who's used to doing rebuilds and has done them very well knows exactly how to handle them, and he has handled it in exactly the correct way, which is you plan accordingly, you bet on yourself and your ability to build a team that plays the way you want to. You get some of the pieces you need. In this case, James Maddison is going to be the creative element we're losing with Harry Kane. Hopefully Richie can be that striker role that we've needed, and potentially it remains to be seen too. There's got to be a backup. Who will that be? Yeah, many questions to be answered still, but anyway, I have full confidence in Ange Postecoglou. He had a great press conference. I can't wait to see like the whole thing. I've just seen bits and pieces, but his responses and planning and preparation are exactly what Spurs fans should be wanting to hear. He's had a plan all along, and he's been moving forward with the correct role. There's no point in holding Harry Kane at the club one more year when he wanted out, and has wanted out really for the past, since the Man City ridiculousness, and it's come to pass, and now we'll see what happens. On an interesting note, as an American, it's actually easier with ESPN Plus to watch pretty much every Bundesliga game, I think. Whereas with the Premier League, USA, which I don't have because I don't have regular cable, I just have Peacock and streaming. USA snipes many of the good games, and it would cost me like $30 more a month to get Sling or whatever, just to get that channel for like 4 nights. Yeah, it's funny. I don't I don't want cable. I don't want Sling most of the time. I watch so much more YouTube than regular TV these days, anyway, and that's been true for like the last 3 years, really. And that hasn't even been watching Spurs stuff. I've watched so much Spurs stuff actually since this season ended than I ever have historically. But side notes, tangents, etc. So anyway, pretty interesting in that regard. And the one thing that I've thought about with the whole Harry Kane situation is, if he's, who knows what Thomas Tuchel told him, when they met or whenever, or Bayern representatives met with him. But I mean, from a player ambition perspective, this has to be the best opportunity he has to compete for a Champions League title, over the next 3 years. If he can win a Champions League or two, and be the best player on that team, he has a shot to win a Ballon d'Or as well. There's nothing more ambitious than that. And so, if that was kind of, we'll find out maybe in the future or whatever, if that was kind of the dream they sold him on, or he had it himself, or, which would surprise me, but I'm curious to find out more. That would make sense. And the other thing is, of the teams that consistently compete for a Champions League, I mean, we've got, if it's Man City, okay, that's an oil country riches team. Real Madrid, they win so many, it's like they don't need to win anymore. If there's a team that could potentially compete for them, that actually in Germany has that, the ownership thing where they're basically not fully owned in the same way. There's like the 51% rule or whatever, where supporters have a certain amount of ownership. I mean, in a way, it's those are the teams that you would kind of like to see competing with the oil teams, or the just established powers or whatever. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out. The other thing too that occurs to me is that people that have it out for Levy should really root for Harry Kane to do as well as he possibly can to make Levy look that much worse for letting him go. Because look how you were holding him back. He achieved X, if he won the Ballon d'Or, I mean, you let the Ballon d'Or winner go. Actually, multiple, because I guess Modric, that also happened. So, yeah, classic Spurs. But anyway, I don't see myself becoming a Bayern fan, but it will be easy to catch games on ESPN Plus, and so I'm sure I will be checking in regularly to see what's going on and how the team's been doing. But yeah, I'm sad to see Harry Kane go, but I understand careers are limited, and if he is really going for that championship and maybe even Ballon d'Or dream, I certainly don't begrudge him that. The one other thing that I'm curious about, my expectation would be, no, he never learns German, or he's just there to play and win trophies and etc. But if he did make the effort to learn German, I would be so impressed with him doing that. So, and I mean, I'm sure all the Germans would be so impressed. So I am a little bit curious in that regard. I guess no, but I don't know. I mean, it was surprising to go there in the first place. So anyway, I'm curious to see how it all goes, and we'll continue to watch from afar, but still mainly focused on Spurs, of course. And I'm very excited for the new era to begin. And I'm optimistic. I think we will make a couple more signings before the window closes, and we'll, do some things this season. I think, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if we could make a good cup run. I don't know if winning one in the first year, that's maybe a push in my mind, but definitely making it to the semifinals of one, I could see that maybe. And so on that note, thanks for tuning in. I think things are looking up. We're moving forward, and I'm definitely looking forward to that Brentford game. So thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you again soon. Stay well, and remember, to dare is to do.